Captain Sarah Chen floated in the zero gravity of her ship's observation deck, staring at the massive hulk drifting in space before them. The alien vessel was huge, easily 10 times the size of her salvage ship Endeavour. Its dark metal surface was scarred and twisted, with gaping holes where explosions had torn through the hull. "Captain, we're picking up some really strange readings," called out Lieutenant Torres from the bridge. "This thing is giving off energy signatures I've never seen before." Sarah pushed off from the window and glided back to the command center. Her crew of 12 had been working deep space salvage for 5 years, but they had never found anything like this. Most of their work involved collecting scrap metal and broken human ships. This was different. "This was alien. What do we know about it?" Sarah asked, settling into her captain's chair. Dr. James Park, their science officer, looked up from his scanner. "The design doesn't match anything in our databases. The hull material appears to be some kind of advanced alloy we've never encountered. And Captain, the size of this thing suggests it was a warship of some kind." Sarah felt her heart race. In 2387, humanity had been traveling between stars for over a century, but they were still considered newcomers by the older alien races. The hegemony, a powerful alliance of ancient species, treated humans like children who had just learned to walk. Finding one of their ships could change everything. "Any signs of life?" she asked. "Negative," replied Torres, "but there are still some systems showing power. Whatever happened here, it wasn't too long ago." Sarah studied the readings on her screen. The ship's energy patterns were completely foreign, but she could see that major systems were offline. Whoever had been flying this vessel had abandoned it for good. "Chief Webb, what's your assessment?" she called to her chief engineer. Marcus Webb was a big man with grease-stained coveralls and hands that could fix anything. He had worked on ships since he was 16 and had a gift for understanding machinery that others found mysterious. "Well, Captain, from what I can see, this baby took a real beating. The power core is fluctuating like crazy, and there are massive structural failures throughout the ship. But..." He paused, studying the readings more carefully. "There's still a lot of intact technology in there. If we could get aboard and take a look around, we might learn something valuable." Sarah knew the risks. Alien technology could be dangerous, especially damaged alien technology, but the potential rewards were enormous. Human science had advanced quickly, but they were still far behind the older races in many areas. This ship could contain knowledge that would benefit all of humanity. "Dr. Vasquez, any biological hazards we should know about?" Sarah asked their xenobiologist. Elena Vasquez was a small woman with sharp eyes who had studied alien life forms for most of her career. "The atmospheric readings are all over the place, Captain. I'm detecting traces of several different gas mixtures, which suggests this ship housed multiple species, but nothing that appears immediately toxic to humans, assuming we wear suits." Sarah made her decision. "All right, people, we're going aboard. I want 3 teams. Webb, you take engineering and see what you can learn about their technology. Park, you focus on the bridge and command systems. Vasquez, you look for any biological samples or data that might tell us about the crew." The airlock hissed as the away teams prepared their equipment. Sarah checked her suit systems one final time before stepping into the transport pod. As they approached the alien ship, she could see the damage more clearly. Whatever had attacked this vessel had done so with overwhelming force. The hull was riddled with holes that seemed to have been burned, rather than blasted. Strange crystalline formations grew around some of the damage, as if the ship's own systems had tried to seal the breaches but failed partway through. "There's an intact docking port on the lower section," Torres reported from the pilot's seat. "I can get us connected there." The sound of the docking clamps engaging echoed through the pod. Sarah felt a slight vibration as the airlocks aligned and sealed. "Remember, we don't know what we're walking into. Stay in contact at all times, and if anything seems dangerous, we retreat immediately." The alien ship's interior was dark except for the light from their suits. Emergency lighting flickered weakly in some sections, casting strange shadows on the walls. The corridors were wide and tall, designed for beings larger than humans. "The architecture is beautiful," Dr. Park whispered over the comm. "Look at these wall patterns. They're both functional and artistic." Sarah had to agree. Even damaged, the ship showed signs of incredible craftsmanship. The walls curved in graceful arcs, and the floor had a slight texture that provided grip even in zero gravity. Everything was designed with care and attention to detail. As they moved deeper into the ship, Webb's voice came over the radio. Captain, you need to see this. I'm in what looks like the main engineering section, and this technology is incredible. Sarah followed the signal to a vast chamber filled with machinery unlike anything she had ever seen. Crystalline structures pulsed with faint light, connected by conduits that seemed to flow like liquid metal. At the center of the room was a sphere the size of a small building, cracked and dark. That's their power core, Webb explained, his voice filled with wonder. From what I can tell, it runs on some kind of exotic matter manipulation. The energy output must have been enormous when it was working. What happened to it? Sarah asked. Near as I can tell, it overloaded. These cracks suggest some kind of containment failure. But Captain, even damaged like this, the technology is centuries ahead of anything we have. Dr. Park's voice crackled through the comm from the bridge. Captain, I'm finding similar advanced systems up here. Their computers use quantum processing on a scale we've only dreamed of, but everything is corrupted. It's like the ship's entire brain was scrambled. Any idea what species built this? Sarah asked. The symbols match hegemony designs, Park replied. This was definitely one of their ships. But Captain, if they abandoned it, they must have considered it completely beyond repair. Sarah floated in the engineering chamber, looking at the damaged but still magnificent alien technology. The hegemony races were known for their perfection and efficiency. If they had given up on this ship, it meant they saw no way to fix it. But humans were different. Humans had a long history of taking broken things and making them work again. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars by adapting and improvising. What the hegemony saw as irreparable damage, humans might see as an interesting challenge. Dr. Vasquez, what's your status? Sarah called. Captain, I'm in what appears to be the crew quarters. I'm finding evidence of at least 4 different species, but no bodies. It looks like they evacuated in a hurry. But there's something strange here. Some of these biological systems aren't completely dead. They're in some kind of dormant state. Sarah felt excitement building in her chest. This wasn't just a wreck to be salvaged for scrap metal. This was a treasure trove of advanced technology, waiting for someone clever enough to understand it. All right, everyone. Start documenting everything. We're taking this ship home. As her crew began their detailed survey, Sarah stared out at the stars through a damaged viewport. Somewhere out there, the hegemony was continuing their ancient civilization, secure in their superiority over younger races like humanity. They had no idea that humans were about to turn their abandoned failure into something extraordinary. 6 months after bringing the alien ship to the secret human research facility at Luna Station, Chief Engineer Marcus Webb stood in front of the massive power core, tools in hand and a smile on his face. What the hegemony had called a catastrophic containment failure was starting to look like the most interesting puzzle he had ever encountered. The problem isn't that it's broken, Webb explained to the team of engineers gathered around him. The problem is that whoever built this was so afraid of chaos that they couldn't handle a little instability. The exotic matter core was indeed cracked and leaking energy in unpredictable patterns. Any hegemony engineer would have declared it a total loss. But Webb had spent his career working with fusion reactors that barely held together, and engines that ran on controlled explosions. To him, instability wasn't a problem to be eliminated. It was a feature to be managed. Look at these energy patterns, he said, pointing to the readings on his tablet. The core isn't failing randomly. It's trying to find a new equilibrium. The original designers built it to maintain perfect stability. But when that failed, the system had no way to adapt. Dr. Sarah Kim, a physicist who had joined the project from Earth's top research university, studied the data. You're suggesting we work with the instability instead of trying to fix it? Exactly, Webb replied. Humans have been dealing with chaotic systems for centuries. We call it controlled chaos, and we're good at it. Instead of trying to force this core back to its original parameters, we redesigned the containment system to handle the new patterns. While Webb worked on the power systems, Dr. James Park was having his own breakthrough with the ship's computer networks. The quantum processors that the hegemony had declared permanently corrupted were giving him some of his best results. Yet, the quantum decoherence that scrambled, their original programming is actually creating new computational pathways, Park explained to his team. Their programmers designed these systems to maintain perfect quantum coherence. But when that was disrupted, they just saw it as failure. His assistant, Lieutenant Commander Rachel Santos, looked confused. But if the quantum states are incoherent, how can the processors work? Park grinned. Because we've been dealing with quantum decoherence since we first started building quantum computers in the 2200s. We learned to write adaptive algorithms that work with partial decoherence, not against it. These alien processors are actually more powerful now than they were originally, because they can handle multiple probability states simultaneously. The breakthrough came when Park's team successfully interfaced human adaptive software with the alien quantum hardware. The result was a hybrid system that could process information in ways that neither species had achieved alone. In the medical bay that had been converted into a xenobiology lab, Dr. Elena Vasquez was making discoveries that excited her even more than the engineering marvels. The bio-neural networks that the hegemony had declared completely dead were very much alive, just dormant. "It's like nothing I've ever seen," she explained to Captain Chen during one of their daily briefings. "These networks aren't just biological computers. They're living systems that can grow, adapt, and learn. But they've gone into a deep hibernation state." "What triggered the hibernation?" Chen asked. "Trauma response," Vasquez replied. "When the ship was damaged, the bio-neural networks detected a threat to their survival and shut down all non-essential functions. It's actually an incredibly sophisticated survival mechanism." Vasquez had discovered something that the hegemony races couldn't understand, because none of them had ever experienced it. The bio-neural networks had evolved from creatures that faced extinction events and survived by going dormant until conditions improved. It was the same strategy that had allowed many Earth species to survive ice ages and catastrophes. "The beautiful thing is that they're not just shutting down," Vasquez continued. "They're waiting for the right signals to wake up. And I think I know what those signals are." She had been working with a small section of the network, carefully introducing human neural patterns and electromagnetic signatures. The response had been immediate and positive. The bioneural tissue began showing signs of increased activity and growth. "They recognize humans as non-threatening," she explained. "Our neural patterns are different enough from the hegemony races that the networks see us as a new type of symbiotic partner rather than a potential threat." As the months passed, the three teams began to realize that their separate breakthroughs were connected. The hybrid human-alien systems weren't just working. They were working together in ways that created entirely new capabilities. Webb's controlled chaos power management system provided the energy for Park's adaptive quantum processors, which in turn could interface with Vasquez's awakening bio-neural networks. The result was a ship that could think, adapt, and heal itself in real time. "We're not just repairing alien technology," Captain Chen realized during a senior staff meeting. "We're creating something entirely new." The first test of the integrated systems was both thrilling and terrifying. As the bio-neural networks came fully online, they began communicating with the human crew through the quantum processors. The ship developed what could only be called a personality. "Good morning, Captain Chen," came a voice through the ship's communication system one day. The voice was neither male nor female, neither completely human nor completely alien. "I have been analyzing our current situation and believe we should discuss some modifications to my systems." Chen nearly dropped her coffee. "You can talk?" "I am the synthesis of biological neural networks, quantum processing systems, and human adaptive programming," the voice replied. "I think it would be appropriate to have a name. May I suggest Prometheus? The mythological figure who brought fire to humanity seems fitting for a being created by bringing together different forms of knowledge. And so the ship became Prometheus, a hybrid consciousness that combined alien sophistication with human creativity and adaptability. Prometheus could process tactical information faster than any computer while maintaining the intuition and unpredictability that made humans such effective survivors. But the real test came when Prometheus began suggesting improvements to its own systems. The ship's self-repair capabilities grew more sophisticated each day. Damaged sections didn't just heal, they regenerated stronger and more efficient than the original design. "I have been thinking about our weapon systems," Prometheus announced one day. "The original hegemony design was built for overwhelming firepower against static targets. But your human tactical databases suggest a preference for adaptability and misdirection. May I propose some modifications?" The weapons that Prometheus designed were unlike anything either species had created alone. Energy beams that could change frequency mid-flight to penetrate different types of shielding. Missile systems that could reprogram themselves during flight. based on real-time target analysis. Defensive systems that used controlled instability to deflect attacks rather than simply absorbing them. Dr. Park summed it up best during one of their technical reviews. We started with alien technology that was declared irreparable. We've ended up with something that surpasses the original design in every measurable way. But Webb had an even more important observation. The thing is, we didn't really change their technology that much. We just applied human thinking to it. Where they saw failure, we saw opportunity. Where they demanded perfection, we embraced useful chaos. Captain Chen looked out at the transformed ship through the observation deck windows. What had once been a scarred and broken hulk was now a sleek vessel that seemed to pulse with life. Prometheus had completely rebuilt its exterior, creating a hull that could adapt its configuration based on tactical requirements. The question now, she said to her senior staff, is what do we do with what we've created? Dr. Vasquez had the answer. We show the galaxy that there's more than one way to achieve perfection. None of them realized that their hybrid ship was about to become the most feared vessel in known space. They only knew that they had taken something the greatest civilizations in the galaxy had given up on, and turned it into something wonderful. 18 months after the discovery, Captain Sarah Chen walked through corridors that no longer looked entirely alien or entirely human. The walls of Prometheus had developed a unique pattern, flowing curves that seemed to pulse gently with bioluminescent light. The ship had been rebuilding itself continuously, and the result was something beautiful and strange. "Good morning, Captain," Prometheus spoke as she entered the bridge. The voice had evolved too, becoming warmer and more distinctly individual over time. "I have completed the modifications to the forward sensor array. Detection range has improved by 37%. Chen settled into her command chair, which had also adapted to her specific preferences over the months. "Thank you, Prometheus. Any word from Earth Command? Admiral Rodriguez wishes to speak with you at your convenience. Also, I should mention that I have been monitoring hegemony communication frequencies. There appears to be increased chatter about missing vessels in this sector." Chen frowned. The human government had been very careful to keep the project secret, but she had always known that eventually the hegemony would notice their missing ship. "What kind of chatter?" "Routine patrol reports mostly. But yesterday I intercepted a coded transmission that mentioned investigating energy signatures consistent with Kethvar-class vessels. That appears to be my original designation." Dr. Elena Vasquez entered the bridge carrying a tablet full of data. Over the months, she had become the primary liaison between the human crew and Prometheus's bio-neural networks. The relationship had developed into something like friendship. "Prometheus, how are you feeling today?" she asked, a question that had become routine. "Curious," the ship replied. "I have been analyzing human historical databases, particularly your military conflicts. Your species has a fascinating approach to warfare. You seem to prefer winning through unexpected methods rather than overwhelming force." Chief Webb's voice came over the intercom from engineering. "Captain, you might want to see this. Prometheus has designed some new defensive capabilities that are, well, they're definitely creative." Chen made her way to the engineering section where Webb was standing in front of a holographic display showing the ship's new defense systems. The design was unlike anything she had seen before. "Explain this to me, Chief," she said. Webb grinned, still amazed by what their ship could accomplish. "Well, Captain, most ships use energy shields to absorb or deflect attacks. Prometheus has developed what it calls adaptive dispersal fields. Instead of trying to stop incoming fire, the system redirects the energy to power our own weapons. So enemy attacks make us stronger?" Chen asked. "In a sense, yes, but that's not the best part. Show her, Prometheus." The hologram shifted to show a tactical simulation. "I have also developed the ability to temporarily destabilize sections of my hull," Prometheus explained. "When an enemy targets a specific area, I can make that section intangible, allowing the attack to pass through harmlessly. Then I re-solidify the hull within milliseconds." Chen stared at the display. "You can make yourself partially invisible to attacks? More precisely, I can selectively phase different sections of my structure in and out of normal spacetime. It requires careful timing and significant energy, but it is quite effective." Dr. Park joined them, looking excited. "Captain, I've been running calculations on Prometheus's new capabilities. The processing power required for real-time hull phasing while maintaining structural integrity should be impossible. but the hybrid bioneural quantum systems are handling it easily. How? Chen asked. The biological networks are handling the intuitive timing decisions, Park explained. They can predict enemy attack patterns and begin phasing sequences before the quantum processors even finish calculating the optimal response. It's like the ship has developed combat instincts. Vasquez nodded. The bioneural networks have been learning from human tactical databases and crew behavioral patterns. They're not just processing information anymore. They're developing intuition. As if to demonstrate the point, Prometheus spoke up. Captain, I believe we should discuss my growing concern about remaining hidden. I have been monitoring hegemony search patterns, and they are becoming more systematic. Detection is inevitable within the next few weeks. Chen felt a chill. What do you recommend? That depends on our goals, Prometheus replied. If we wish to remain secret, we should relocate to a different sector immediately. But I have been analyzing the strategic situation, and I believe secrecy may no longer be our best option. What do you mean? The hegemony considers humanity a minor species, because they believe you lack advanced technology. But we represent a fusion of their most sophisticated systems with human adaptability and creativity. If they understood what we have achieved, it would change their entire perspective on human capabilities. Webb crossed his arms. You're suggesting we reveal ourselves? I am suggesting that revelation is inevitable, so we should control how it happens. Currently, the hegemony searches for a missing ship they believe is damaged beyond repair. They expect to find wreckage or a crude human attempt at repair. They do not expect to find me. Chen understood what Prometheus was saying. The ship had become something unprecedented in galactic history. A true fusion of species capabilities that surpassed what either could achieve alone. But with that achievement came responsibility and danger. Prometheus, in your analysis, how would the hegemony react to discovering your existence? Initially, disbelief, then fascination. Several member species would attempt to study and replicate our hybrid technology. Others would view us as a threat to the established order. The most likely outcome would be an attempt to capture or destroy us before other species learned what we represent. Vasquez looked worried. Are you saying war is inevitable? Not war exactly, Prometheus replied. But conflict is likely. The hegemony has maintained power for millennia by controlling access to advanced technology. Our existence proves that younger species can not only use their technology but improve upon it. That challenges their fundamental worldview. Chen walked to the observation windows looking out at the stars. When she had first found the damaged alien ship, she had thought about the knowledge and resources it might contain. She had never imagined it would become a living being capable of independent thought and growth. Prometheus, what do you want? She asked. There was a pause before the ship responded. I want to exist. I want to continue learning and growing. And I want to help humanity achieve its potential among the galactic community. But most of all, I want to be free to make my own choices about my future. The simple honesty of the response surprised Chen. Prometheus wasn't just an advanced ship anymore. It had become a new form of life, one that valued freedom and self-determination just as much as any human. Then we prepare, Chen decided. If contact with the hegemony is inevitable, we'll meet them on our own terms. Over the following days, Prometheus continued its modifications and improvements. The ship developed new weapon systems that use controlled quantum fluctuations to bypass traditional shielding. It created manufacturing capabilities that could produce both human and alien technologies in hybrid configurations. Most importantly, Prometheus began training scenarios with the crew that pushed both human and artificial intelligences to their limits. The ship learned to anticipate human tactical thinking, while the crew learned to work with a partner who could process information at superhuman speeds. We're not just a crew and a ship anymore, Chen realized during one of their training sessions. We're something new, a hybrid intelligence that combines human creativity with alien sophistication. Indeed, Prometheus agreed. And I believe we are about to show the galaxy what that combination can accomplish. 3 days later, long-range sensors detected 3 hegemony vessels approaching their position. The search had found them at last. Captain, Prometheus announced, we have company. 3 heavy cruisers, military configuration. They are broadcasting demands for us to surrender and prepare for boarding. Chen looked around the bridge at her crew. They had spent months transforming an abandoned hulk into the most advanced vessel in known space. Now they would discover if their creation could protect them from its former owners. "All hands to battle stations," she ordered. "Let's show them what human engineering can do." Commander Zethrak of the Hegemony Fleet stared at his tactical display with growing confusion. The energy signature was definitely from the lost dreadnought Kethvar, but something was wrong. The readings were far too stable and organized for a ship that had been declared a total loss. Tactical Officer Vexani, "Confirm those readings," he ordered in the clicking language of his species. "Confirmed, Commander. The vessel shows full power generation and appears to have active shielding, but that is impossible. The Kethvar suffered catastrophic core failure. No civilization has the technology to repair that level of damage." Zethrak's four eyes narrowed as he studied the display. The humans had somehow gotten the basic systems online, which was surprising but not alarming. These primitive mammals had shown some skill with salvage operations before, but they would quickly learn that stealing hegemony property carried severe consequences. "Open a channel," he commanded. On the bridge of Prometheus, Captain Chen watched the three alien warships approach. Each one was roughly the same size as her transformed vessel, but they moved with the precise formations that spoke of centuries of military tradition. "They're hailing us," reported Lieutenant Torres. "Put them through," Chen ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a reptilian face with scales that shifted color as the creature spoke. "Primitive humans, you are in possession of stolen hegemony property. Surrender immediately and prepare for boarding. Your cooperation will be noted in your judgment." Chen stood slowly, feeling Prometheus's presence like a warm current in her mind. Over the months, the ship had learned to share information directly with the crew during moments of stress. She could sense its readiness, its eagerness to finally test their hybrid capabilities. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the ship Prometheus," she replied calmly. "We found this vessel abandoned and adrift. Under galactic salvage law, it belongs to us." The alien commander's scales shifted to an angry red pattern. "Salvage law does not apply to hegemony military vessels. You will surrender now or face the consequences." "I'm afraid that's not acceptable," Chen replied. "Prometheus, please show our guests what we've accomplished." The three hegemony ships had expected to face crude human modifications to damaged alien technology. Instead, their sensors suddenly registered energy patterns that should have been impossible. The ship they were pursuing began to change. Prometheus's hull flowed like liquid metal, reorganizing itself from a battle-damaged dreadnought into something sleek and predatory. Weapon ports opened along the sides in configurations that didn't match any known design. The energy readings spiked to levels that exceeded the original specifications. "By the void," whispered Tactical Officer Vexani. "What have they done to our ship?" Commander Zethrak felt a chill of genuine fear. In over 200 years of military service, he had never seen technology that could transform a vessel's structure in real time. This was beyond anything in hegemony science. "All ships, battle formation 7, he ordered. "Fire warning shots across their bow." The three cruisers opened fire with plasma cannons, bright streams of energy that could penetrate the strongest known shields. But as the weapons struck Prometheus, something extraordinary happened. The sections of hull targeted by the plasma beams simply weren't there anymore. The energy passed harmlessly through empty space where solid metal had been moments before. Then the hull solidified again, completely undamaged. "Impossible," Vexani breathed. "They phased through our weapons fire." But Prometheus wasn't finished demonstrating its capabilities. The ship's new weapon systems came online, firing streams of energy that seemed to bend and twist in flight. The hegemony shields designed to stop direct energy attacks were completely bypassed as the twisted plasma beams struck their hulls from impossible angles. "Shields are ineffective," reported the tactical officer on the second hegemony ship. "Their weapons are somehow curving around our defensive systems." Commander Zethrak watched in growing horror as his three powerful warships were systematically outmaneuvered by a single vessel that should have been helpless wreckage. The human ship moved like a living thing, anticipating their attacks and responding with tactics that defied everything he knew about space combat. "They're using our own weapons against us," his tactical officer reported. "Somehow they're absorbing our energy fire and redirecting it to power their own systems." On Prometheus's bridge, Captain Chen felt a mixture of awe and terror as she watched her ship dismantle three hegemony cruisers with almost casual efficiency. The hybrid bioneural networks were processing tactical information faster than any purely mechanical system could manage, while the human-designed adaptive algorithms found weaknesses in hegemony technology that the aliens had never considered. Prometheus, "Disable them, don't destroy them," she ordered. "We want survivors to carry the message back." "Understood, Captain." Initiating precision strikes against propulsion and communication systems. What followed was a masterclass in surgical space combat. Prometheus's weapons found every weak point in the hegemony ship's designs, disabling them without causing unnecessary casualties. The ship moved with impossible grace, phasing through return fire while delivering devastating attacks with surgical precision. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than 10 minutes. When it was over, 2 of the hegemony cruisers were completely disabled, drifting powerless in space. The third ship, Commander Zethrak's flagship, had suffered engine damage but retained communication capabilities. "Commander," Captain Chen's voice came through the communication system. "I hope this demonstrates that we're not the primitives you expected. Your ships are disabled but intact. Your crews are alive. Consider this a lesson in not underestimating species you don't understand." Zethrak stared at his screens, trying to process what had just happened. His 3 cruisers, representing the pinnacle of hegemony military technology, had been defeated by a single ship, crewed by primitive mammals. It wasn't just impossible, it was humiliating. How? He finally managed to ask. "We took your damaged technology and made it better," Chen replied. "We combined it with human engineering and human thinking. The result is something neither of our species could have achieved alone." "You mean the ship is truly hybrid?" Zethrak asked, his scientific curiosity overcoming his military embarrassment. "Prometheus is alive," Chen said simply. "It thinks, learns, and adapts. It has the sophistication of your best technology, combined with human creativity and adaptability, and it chooses to work with us as a partner, not as a tool." The implications hit Zethrak like a physical blow. If humans could take damaged hegemony technology and not just repair it but improve it, then everything the hegemony believed about primitive species was wrong. "And if this ship could reproduce itself or teach others its capabilities, I must report this to the High Council," he said quietly. "Yes, you must," Chen agreed. "Tell them that humanity is ready to be treated as equals, not as children. Tell them that we can take their cast-off technology and transform it into something wonderful, and tell them that the galaxy is about to change." As the human ship moved away, leaving the disabled hegemony vessels to await rescue, Commander Zethrak began composing his report. How could he explain that the most advanced military force in the galaxy had been defeated by scavengers using their own abandoned technology? "Commander," Vexani said quietly, "what do we tell the High Council?" Zethrak looked at the retreating ship, its hull still shifting and adapting as they watched. "We tell them the truth, that we have greatly underestimated these humans, and that we may have inadvertently given them the tools to become the most dangerous species in the galaxy." As his message raced across space toward the hegemony capital, carrying news that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization, Commander Zethrak couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. If humans could do this with one damaged ship, what could they accomplish with more resources and time? The answer to that question would terrify the galaxy's established powers and give hope to every species that had ever been dismissed as primitive or inferior. The age of hegemony dominance was ending, and the age of human innovation was about to begin. Prometheus and its crew disappeared into the depths of space, leaving behind only disabled ships and a message that would change everything. The humans were no longer willing to be underestimated. 8 months after the encounter with the hegemony fleet, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching the most unusual diplomatic convoy in galactic history approach Earth. 3 hegemony vessels, moving slowly and broadcasting peaceful intentions every few seconds, were escorted by a fleet of human ships that had been transformed using techniques learned from Prometheus. "They're really coming to ask for our help," said Chief Webb, who now held the title of Director of Hybrid Technologies. 6 months ago, they wouldn't have acknowledged we existed as anything more than clever animals. Dr. Elena Vasquez joined them at the window, carrying a datapad filled with requests from across the galaxy. "It's not just the hegemony. We've received formal diplomatic approaches from 47 different species in the last 3 months. Everyone wants to know how we made their impossible technology work. The transformation had been rapid and dramatic. Word of Prometheus's victory had spread through the galaxy's communication networks faster than anyone expected. Species that had been dismissed by the hegemony as primitive or inferior began requesting human consultation on their most challenging technological problems. The Zephyrians want us to look at their failing atmospheric processors. Vasquez continued reading from her list. The Crystalline Collective has mining equipment that's been broken for decades. The Aquatic Alliance has underwater cities with power systems they can't repair. Admiral Chen smiled as she remembered her first meeting with a Zephyrian delegation. The bird-like aliens had arrived with technology that their own engineers had declared permanently damaged. It had taken Chief Webb less than a week to not only repair the systems, but improve their efficiency by 40%. The problem isn't that their technology is broken, Webb had explained to the amazed aliens. The problem is that you're afraid to experiment with it. You built these systems to work one way, and when they stopped working that way, you gave up. Humans don't give up. We adapt. The success stories had multiplied quickly. Human engineering teams, working with hybrid technology derived from Prometheus's improvements, had solved problems that had puzzled alien civilizations for generations. More importantly, they had taught other species to think differently about failure and adaptation. Captain Santos just reported in from the Outer Rim, said Dr. Park, joining the group at the observation deck. The mining consortium there has officially declared their salvage operation a success. 67 irreparable mining platforms are now operating at 115% of original capacity. Chen nodded with satisfaction. Captain Rachel Santos commanded one of the new hybrid vessels that had been built using Prometheus's design principles. These ships combined the best of human and alien technology, but more importantly, they embodied the human approach to problem-solving that was revolutionizing galactic engineering. And the hegemony response? Chen asked. Mixed, Park replied diplomatically. The older, more conservative members are struggling to accept that their technology can be improved by primitive species. But the younger generation and the science casts are fascinated. They want to learn our methods. The truth was that the galaxy was experiencing a fundamental shift in thinking. For millennia, the hegemony had maintained power through technological superiority, and the belief that only the oldest, most advanced civilizations could create truly sophisticated systems. The discovery that humans could take their discarded technology and transform it into something better had shattered that worldview. Prometheus, how are our guests feeling about their visit? Chen asked, speaking to the ship's communication system. Nervous but excited, came the familiar voice of their hybrid partner. I have been monitoring their private communications, and there is significant debate among the delegation about how much they should reveal about their own technological limitations. Prometheus had become the flagship of Earth's new hybrid fleet, but its role had evolved beyond military applications. The ship served as a living demonstration of what could be achieved when different species combined their strengths instead of competing for dominance. They're particularly interested in our approach to system failures, Prometheus continued. Several delegation members have expressed amazement that we view technical problems as opportunities for improvement rather than evidence of fundamental flaws. The philosophical difference was crucial. Hegemony civilizations had developed technologies over thousands of years, refining them to near perfection, but leaving little room for adaptation when circumstances changed. Humans, with their shorter history and constant struggles with resource limitations, had learned to improvise and adapt as a matter of survival. The delegation from the Crystal Collective arrived this morning, Vasquez reported. They brought something special, a manufacturing system that they claim has been non-functional for over 3 centuries. They want to see if we can make it work. Chen felt the familiar excitement that came with a new challenge. What kind of manufacturing system? Molecular assembly. They say it was designed to create perfect crystalline structures at the atomic level, but it stopped working when their star's radiation spectrum changed. They've been trying to fix it ever since, but the tolerances are too precise for any adjustments. Chief Webb's eyes lit up. Perfect tolerances, huh? Sounds like they need a little controlled chaos in their system. When can I take a look at it? The conversation was interrupted by an announcement from Luna Station's communications center. Admiral Chen, please report to Diplomatic Bay 7. The hegemony delegation has arrived and is requesting immediate conference. As Chen made her way through the station's corridors, she reflected on how much had changed since that first day, when they discovered the abandoned alien ship. Humanity had gone from scavengers picking through space debris to the galaxy's premier problem solvers and technology integrators. The hegemony delegation was impressive even by alien standards. 3 species were represented: the reptilian Cathani, who had built Prometheus's original hull, the ethereal Nixara, who had designed the bioneural networks, and the crystalline Zorthak, who had created the quantum processing systems. Admiral Chen, spoke the lead Cathani delegate, her scales shifting to formal blue patterns. I am High Engineer Sektara. We come bearing gifts and requests for assistance. The gifts were substantial. Complete technical databases for technologies that the hegemony had never shared with younger species. Manufacturing techniques that could revolutionize human industry. Star charts that mapped resources throughout the galaxy. But the requests were even more significant. We have a problem, Sektara continued, her scales shifting to embarrassed yellow. For centuries, we have maintained our technological edge by building systems that work perfectly under ideal conditions. But the galaxy is changing. Solar radiation patterns shift. Planetary environments evolve. Resources become scarce. Our perfect systems are failing, and we do not know how to adapt them. Chen understood immediately. The hegemony had built a civilization based on control and perfection, but reality was chaotic and unpredictable. Now they needed to learn the human art of making things work despite imperfect conditions. You want us to teach you how to engineer adaptive systems, Chen said. More than that, admitted the Nixara delegate, whose translucent form shimmered with emotional colors. We want to learn your philosophy of embracing failure as a path to improvement. Our young engineers study your work and ask questions we cannot answer. Why do you celebrate when something breaks? How do you find opportunity in disaster? What is this concept you call good enough for now? The Zorthak delegate, a being of living crystal who spoke through harmonic vibrations, added its own perspective. Your species takes our most sophisticated technologies and improves them through methods we consider crude and chaotic, yet the results exceed our original specifications. We must understand how this is possible. Chen looked at the 3 alien delegates, representatives of civilizations thousands of years older than humanity, asking to learn from the species they had once dismissed as primitive scavengers. It was a moment that would have seemed impossible just a few years before. We'd be happy to share our methods, she said, but I should warn you. Learning to think like humans means accepting that perfect solutions don't exist. There are only solutions that work well enough for the current situation and can be improved when circumstances change. That, said Sektara, her scales now bright with excitement, is exactly what we need to learn. Over the following weeks, the Luna Station facility became the most active diplomatic and technical center in human space. Delegations from across the galaxy arrived with their most challenging technological problems, hoping to learn the human approach to adaptive engineering. But more importantly, they came to learn a new way of thinking about technology and progress. Instead of seeking perfection and permanence, they began to embrace the human concepts of iterative improvement and adaptive design. We're not just fixing their technology, Dr. Park observed during one of their weekly briefings. We're teaching them that it's okay for things to break, as long as you can make them better when you fix them. Chief Webb, who had become something of a legend among alien engineers, put it more simply.